this webinar, and hopefully we will meet in person soon, either in India or in UK. And this event, which is focused on manufacturing, is based on our series, part of our series on investing in India. And this focus manufacturing, and we couldn't get better than Pankaj Munjal from Hero Group, who has been a pioneer in manufacturing in India from so many years. We still know cycles, 50 years ago, and then more cars and all that. So you are actually the giant in manufacturing. And we have Louise here from Senior Vice President from Rolls Royce, as well as JCB. JCB have been in India for a long time from UK in terms of manufacturing. So we hope that we'll have a good discussion. So the format is that I will request the Deputy High Commissioner to make introductory remarks and opening statement, followed by Pankaj Munjal, our keynote speaker. After he would have spoken 7-10 minutes, we'll have Jayant, Louise, and Philip making their comments on that. Then we will have a discussion among ourselves, four of you, for a few minutes, for 5 minutes, and then I will open the discussion to the delegates. So we are getting questions, and I will do that. With may I invite the Deputy High Commissioner Charanjeet Singh to make the introduction remarks.
Thank you, Kaul Sahab. Dear Mr. Munjal, Dr. Kaul, and our distinguished panelists, our friends who have joined us from India, from other countries for this webinar. So a very warm welcome to you. And I must commend the efforts of IPF for organizing this event. And I thank all the distinguished panelists for taking out time from their busy schedules to be part of this event. As we all know that India is one of the top manufacturing destinations in the world with respect to operating conditions, costs, and competitiveness, as also in various other rules and regulations which Government of India is putting in place for ease of doing business. And India is also one of the, manufacturing is also one of the focus sectors for the Government of India because of its huge potential for value addition and employment generation. And our target is to increase the contribution of manufacturing to India's GDP from the current 16 to 17% to up to 25%. And in this context, Make in India initiative is at the heart of various initiatives which Government of India is taking. As we all know that India offers excellent opportunities for international investors and businesses looking to engage in fast-growing economy. Our large consumer market base, which is expected to become the third largest by 2025. Our workforce, which is one of the fastest growing in the world. Government's continued emphasis on investment in modern infrastructure and one of the most competitive corporate tax regimes in the world, which is at 15% for manufacturing sectors. All these factors make India a very attractive investment destination. I believe building ever closer tie between India and UK is critical from the High Commission's point of view, from Government of India's point of view, particularly at this time when the world is facing the COVID crisis. If we look at some figures, I can say that UK was the 8th largest source of FDI into India in the last financial year, 1920. It contributed more than $1.5 billion at equity inflows. And the number of UK businesses in India has become more than double, has grown like by 2 times since 2000. And we are happy to have companies like JCB and others, investments like Brookfield, who have successfully capitalized on India's infrastructure investments. And I understand that the JCB makes almost half of its global profits in India.
I couldn't comment on
I'm not sure whether I'm right or wrong, but Mr. Philip can correct me. Then there are other British business interests in India span a broad spectrum, with several medium-sized businesses taking their place alongside larger companies to operate successfully across different sectors. We would like to see more investments from UK to further broaden and deepen its coverage and particularly in the manufacturing sector. From the government point of view, I can say that we have a number of institutional mechanisms to promote financial, trade and investment partnership between India and the UK. These mechanisms include JETCO, the Economic and Financial Dialogue, or EFT, we call it in short, and the India-UK CEOs Forum. The latest meeting of JETCO was held very recently, and our two trade ministers, Mr. Piyush Goyal and Secretary of State for International Trade, Right Honorable Madam Elizabeth Truss, they led their respective delegations. And during the meeting, both sides agreed to work together on measures to increase inflows of investment in growing sectors, for example, by reducing restrictions on FDI. The importance of bilateral investment relationship was reaffirmed with an emphasis on promoting investment flows and a positive investment environment. The proposal for holding a UK-India investment dialogue in due course was also discussed. So the new mechanism, when it is set up, could assess the scope of further cooperation in investment matters. You may also know about the Access India program, which is run by the High Commission of India, under which we provide support to British small and medium enterprises to access the Indian market. We have successfully completed the first round of this initiative, and we are already in the second phase of the Access India program. And we are planning to support more than 20 British small and medium companies to access the Indian market in the phase 2 of the Access India program. Our distinguished panelists and speakers will take this, all the participants, to the outlook of manufacturing and its subsectors in India. And I would like to draw your attention to two particular sectors, food processing and defense. Both are critical for India's growth, and in which we can build win-win partnership for both India and the UK. India's food processing sector is known for its high growth and high profits, and is increasing its contribution to the world food trade every year. Currently, India is processing less than 10% of its agricultural output. There are immense opportunities for increasing these processing levels. The key drivers for this sector include a huge domestic market, abundant raw material availability, increasing export opportunities, and proactive government policies, including support for creation of modern infrastructure for efficient supply chains, management from farm to retail outlets. Owing to these factors, India's food processing sector is expected to be worth $500 billion by the next 5 years, presenting opportunities for investments to tap into this growth potential. And if we talk about the defense, we can say India has the 5th largest defense budget in the world. There are plans to spend $130 billion on modernization of our military in the next 5 years. The key drivers of growth in this sector are our domestic requirements, the potential for exports, and our liberal and proactive policies. We have increased foreign direct investment limits in defense to 74% and liberalized the licensing of private domestic firms to produce defense equipment. Even current offset arrangements should be seen as an opportunity for making alliances by the UK companies. I would like to close by emphasizing that India is a country of huge opportunities. India's long-standing parliamentary democracy and liberal economic policies make it a safer destination than many other emerging markets. India has climbed 14 steps in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business in 2020 survey to stand at the 63rd spot, making it one of the world's top 10 most improved countries for the third consecutive time. Not only are we a large market with high growth potential, we can also be reliable partners in global supply chains. We aspire to increase our capacity to contribute more to global output. I invite you all to be part of our exciting journey. And our distinguished speakers will add more to the discussion and also point out the challenges that India faces in the manufacturing sector today. And I look forward to hearing our speakers and panelists, and I'll follow the discussions. And again, I would like to thank Dr. Kaul and our distinguished panelists for being part of this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charanjeet, for all this introduction and raising some of this, food processing, defense, agriculture, and making India a global hub for manufacturing. I'm sure our panelists will highlight some of these. I believe that the government of India has also set up kind of 100 million new jobs by 2022 in the manufacturing sector. And in the panel, they are the real people who are going to be big employers in India. So on this, may I invite Pankaj Munjal, the Chairman and Managing Director of Eurogroup, to please give the keynote address, and then I will invite the panelists one by one.
Okay.
Pankaj.
Thank you for this chance to meet everybody. Excellency, Mr. Kaul, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to be sitting side by side with such great iconic brands that I've respected all my life. Could not buy them, they were very expensive. And but still I carry a dream and I save money that I can buy them one day. And so I'm very fortunate to be sitting part of it. Thank you for this chance that you gave me. We meet at a very good time. This unprecedented times and these crises create new opportunities. Every crisis brings in something new. It tests us. It tests us to the core. It puts the back on the ground and the best out of you comes out. One thing I want to make straight away, I'll come to the point which Excellency High Commissioner of India also made a remark, was a trustable supply chain partner. You want to deal with the employee, with the supplier, with a different country supplier on trust. When BMW gives me their transmission drawings for their gearbox, they are giving me the future cash flows, how they will earn when they put this cash flow, when they put this transmission into the vehicles, and how they will sell the vehicle in the coming 8 years. They give an 8-year business cycle. So it's on trust. The IP, the patent, the copyright has to be protected. You need a partner. You don't need a low-cost supplier, L1 supplier, what you call, and go do what you want. No, you need a partner who can improve the design, who can improve the supply chain, who can do good change management, who can do product recall if it's required. Who's your partner? So India offers a trustable partnership, an enduring partnership. Business is not transaction as an OE would give a business to a supplier and say you make it. It's 1 + 1 greater than 2. Add value, redesign, re-engineer, value engineer. So this is the kind of thing that Hero has been doing. I'm in England. If you see my clothes I'm wearing, is cold here. So I've been living in England for some time and I'm enjoying it very much because I find a big vacuum of Indian industry core and English innovation, brand equity, digital supply chain. I'm finding a lot of these words over here. The moment you bridge them, you create value. So we are in a different 8,000 miles away from each other. If we can, companies can, JCB has done a great job, Rolls Royce has done a great job. I don't know which other companies are doing. So keep it up. I mean, you're doing a good job. So keep the heat on. There's a lot. It's just started. China is not the best partner to be with. You there's lots of change that is happening. In the last 2-3 months, I've been talking to some large Japanese CEOs, and honestly, I mean, they are under pressure. Pressure means if a Japanese moves in 1 year, it's a big job to be done. But they are under a lot of pressure to shift supply chain, shift manufacturing. How in the world today, the supply chain efficiency follows a good product. First a good product, and then an efficient way to make the good product. But the good product is led with the right, product, customer, fitment, and everything. You require a trustable partner. In the businesses that I look after, I'm looking after bicycle business, which we claim to be the world's largest in number. Nobody challenges me, so we continue to write world number 1. And but we are enjoying UK because UK and India have a warm relationship. It's not a cold only business, but there is history behind it. And people in India love these English brands that we have. In England, they love English brands only. So it's all, and we bought many of the brands. Your Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, rides a Hero bike, one of our brands called InSync. If you Google insyncbike.com, I'm sure it will make you fitter. So this is number 1. And e-bikes is the way that we are going forward. I believe, and the world believes, the urban mobility cannot be having more clean cars on the road. It will still create a jam. London is all dug up. In Park Lane that we see, out of the 3 lanes, 2 are dug up. I believe the taxi driver is saying, I'm going to be riding a cycle soon. There's no place to ride a car. It's all becoming beautifully ready for the future. You have more human machine, less pollution, healthier environment, lesser fossil fuel depletion. All that is, feel very happy. London is showing the torch to the world. So this is what's happening. I'm organizing my chief minister from Delhi, from Punjab, from Uttar Pradesh to have connections and talk and how to just make the 2 chief ministers meet, the mayors and others, and see how it goes by. The other part of business is we make EV transmissions. We work with large iconic customers, like I mentioned, with BMW, Mercedes, Suzuki, Toyota, Nissan, all these people. We make them very good gearboxes that we do. So again, it's an international business. Second is that we are into manufacturing, where we make literally half the BMW car in India. So the ZF Hero is a joint venture where we have with a German company, and half the rolling stock is built by ZF Hero in Chennai. We have braking system with Sumitomo Corporation Japan, and we are buying companies, brands, getting good talent. What I'm really excited about is the great talent you get exposed to, and that gets the best out of the people. So Hero is wanting to double over here the bicycle business to another 400 million euros. We have to add to this top line, which I'm more than confident we will do. And this, we require lots of batteries, motors, controllers, wiring harnesses. So all of this is going to be required in millions of units. So Hero will emerge as 10% of the world market. It's a $55 billion market. And we have the fundamentals in place. England is becoming the face of the group. And on end of this year, in another 2.5 months from now, we launched the world's largest e-bike valley, where Punjab government has given us 100 acres of land. The center government has nurtured us with some support, and we will make about 500,000 e-bikes over there, starting off from mid-December. What I want to talk on is that it's the right time to be visiting India, maybe virtually just now, but be in contact. Mr. Kaul, please keep doing these things. Some people connect, something you pick up, some talk you pick up, and then the story can start off when 2 people exchange an idea, exchange visiting cards, exchange virtual things like that. My business, we run about 14 different businesses with 7,500 people. All are world leaders, all are India's leaders or world leaders. and it's a net debt-free group that we have. And our technology innovation center shifted to Berlin, and got very good talent there to think and add value. Why India? Everybody wants to grow. Every country wants to grow. Every country wants to export. No country wants to import. They all want to add value, but you succeed in some strategies. So strategy is destiny. So we have to align. So what Hero's plans going forward are, starting off from the front, we are converting all our supply chain into digital. In your phone, you'll get a red light. Even if you are having dinner, the phone will buzz in your pocket and say, hey, in Bombay port, your goods are stuck up. So there's a default MIS coming up in every person involved in the supply chain. So this has been very helpful. It's unlocked a lot of money. It's time to market, time to develop new product, time to meet a supply chain. They've come down by nearly 30%. A lot of money, obsolescence, all that is being saved, which is giving us tremendous value. The second part, actually, which should be the first part, is the design center in Berlin. So today you can walk in with your design in your head and talk to our designers in Berlin and say, hey, this is what I dream. We'll convert that dream into design, into 2D to 3D, into prototyping, into soft tools, into proper tools, and into supply chain in a very short time. So Hero's excelling in this. We have won a lot of business already, and we believe we give an unfair advantage. Disruptive, edge is coming up, and all that. Honestly, I find people should do this. When I look back to my old supply chain, we look very inefficient. What were we doing? But we could feel that because we've done it today, and we can look in the rear view mirror. So, and feel that. We have a very dynamic Prime Minister. He can rock the boat. We met him a few times, and very sharp person. I think he does a lot of homework. So that is why he asks you the right questions. He asks the right questions, and he can pin us very sharply. And I think the supply chain, like the digital supply chain, the manufacturing engineering, it's a good time. It's a good time for organic growth, for migration growth, for de-risking supply chain. And second, Mr. Kaul, we have a to-do for you, sir. We, in our business, in our e-bikes, we have a factory in Sri Lanka. From there, if we export and it comes to England, then custom duty says 0. Custom says 0 duty. If it comes from India and it comes to the custom, they say 14%. So I think if this hump is crossed, UK will get far more competitive products. They are, in the end, the customers paying for the duty. Why not look at this mutually, understand the pluses and pros and cons, and offer something better, cheaper, cost efficient, and unlock monies, and look at this. So if this you could escalate to the right doors, and we can do this, I think it'll be a strengthen India-England relationship. The other part is the small medium enterprise, which is linked to this, which I started off, and I want to end also with this thing, that with the innovation, with the universities, with the R&Ds that we have in England, some great ones in Warwick, Manchester, Birmingham, all they are doing, I've visited them. They're really doing some wonderful job. You can productionize these ideas. There's so much innovation happening in a very small island called UK. Please add India's volumes to this, Indian market to this, and see what you could make ripples in the world. So there's too much innovation happening. Unleash it. Expand. Force into force arm. Multiply it with a large leverage called India market. So we have started to do this in a limited way. And I want to take this chance to thank everybody who's over here. And please, Mr. Kaul, keep this heat on. It's very, very good job. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for making some very fundamental points that you are looking at. UK and India can be a very trusted partner. And the last one on 14%, we will, I think the panel here is the right panel to put pressure, and we will certainly talk to the government. Jayant, you might like to refer to this, and we will get, we hope that shortly after Brexit, we will have a UK-India trade deal, and 14% will be a kind of a story of the past. We hopefully will. We are looking forward to UK and India working much closer in the future. And thank you for raising this. I think some of these questions will come. Before I go there, does Brexit play any role in your discussion with Europe, or it doesn't really disturb you?
You know, everything plays a role. The labor rate plays a role. The currencies play a role. So everything has its pluses and minuses. I will not over exaggerate or overbuild this too much. There's a variable. Every variable can play a role. So this is one of the variables we considered. So in short, no.
Well, that's good news, because we are expecting, I mean, and Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, is really, really keen on UK-India, trade after Brexit. So we'll, January, hopefully, 2021 will be a new story. And let me go to the panelists. I start with Jayant. Please make your comments, and then I'll go to Louise and Philip, and then we'll have a discussion. Over to you, Jayant.
Thank you, Mr. Mohan Kaul. The Deputy High Commissioner of India to UK, Mr. Pankaj Munjal, Louise, Philip. It's a pleasure to be there in this panel. I mean, India and UK, have a shared history. We all know that. A lot of cultural components are common. And above all, English as a language is a common denominator among our countries, and we have a critical mass, of investments in each other's country. Absolutely. I think today, manufacturing, if you look at in our country, in India, we almost $400 billion worth of annual GDP comes from manufacturing, which is almost 16 to 17% of Indian GDP. And as rightly mentioned earlier by the Deputy High Commissioner, by Pankaj ji, that idea is to take it forward to, perhaps, we are even talking about, almost $1 trillion worth of GDP coming from manufacturing by the year 2025. Of course, there was a dream to create 100 million more jobs out of manufacturing. Of course, the COVID-induced, slowdown has put, that dream to a temporary halt. But I'm sure, as the world bounces back, manufacturing bounces back, it's bound to be very different. So if you look at, the total FDI which has come from UK to India, in last 2 decades, almost 2 decades, the order of magnitude has been of almost $51 billion. So it's not a small sum, that we're talking about. We have a lot of big time UK manufacturing businesses in India. 2 of them are there, Rolls Royce and JCB. They're there, and a whole lot of other people. Diageo, British Petroleum. In the pharma side, GSK. Medanta, Kent. So there's a lot of British marquee clients, brands, who are already there in India. And who doesn't know the much talked about story of collaboration in the vaccine space, where the Oxford vaccine, is going to be manufactured in India in collaboration with AstraZeneca of UK at the Serum Institute of India. I think that's, and that's not just for India's requirements, but a substantive requirement, as, India is the country which produces maximum, the single largest vaccine producing country in the world happens to be in India, even before this Oxford vaccine, So I think they are amazing. JCB, we know very clearly that how India is such an important part of their, global supply chains, manufacturing supply chains, and a substantive part of their revenues and arguably surpluses come from their Indian businesses. We're talking to Rolls Royce, and they're talking about they're even talking about co-creation and co-development of, let's say, a light combat aircraft engine in India. So I think there's a whole lot of possibilities of working together. And see, some people believe that this Atmanirbhar Bharat would lead to some kind of protectionism. But as the Prime Minister has said time and again, the Indian Prime Minister, that it means greater collaboration. Because rather than more protectionism. And this is a classic example where UK company, the kind of research and development, the kind of patents you have developed, the kind of innovations you are in, those could be many of them. The manufacturing could be done in India, not just to looking at 1.3 crore, 130 crore people. That's 1.3 billion people living in India, but also catering to Southeast Asia markets from Indian manufacturing. So I think I recently, UKIB serves as Secretariat for the government-to-government trade negotiations under JETCO, and end of July. I think both the parties, Mr. Piyush Goyal, the Honorable Minister from India side, and Liz Truss from UK, both of them agreed that yes, we have to work towards a future FTA. And while FTA will take a little more time to come, we've agreed for an enhanced trade partnership and remove as many non-tariff barriers as possible, and have discussions on removing the tariff barriers. Also, let me just explain the composition of export-import between the two countries. Bulk of the Indian exports to UK, you'll be surprised, actually are consumer goods and of course IT and IT-enabled services and things like that. They are the two single largest pieces. But if you look at 80% of Indians imports from what India imports from UK, 80% of that are actually raw material, are capital goods, or semi-finished goods. So those are converted into India and then sold, exported for domestic requirement and exported to elsewhere in the country. So it's a how trade is actually helping in manufacturing operations and so on and so forth. I mean, we have several groups, the life sciences and healthcare. We have seen how COVID has exposed to the world that how even the best of breed countries, the most developed countries in the world, they are not prepared enough to fight COVID, the kind of onslaught the pandemic has had. And India, which is this issue has been far more complex in India. We as a country spend just about 1.3% of our GDP on public expenditure. That's a public expenditure on healthcare, and much smaller than many other countries. Of course, the private sector is a bigger spender in India in the healthcare. And the idea is to take this 1.3% to at least 2.5 to 3%. This the Prime Minister had spoken even before COVID. And now idea is to take it to that level much sooner, in a year or two. And there's a whole lot of collaboration. I give you Oxford vaccines example, but the export of paracetamol from India to UK, the personal protection kits, and so on and so forth. So I think that's a very, very interesting story that we have. Deputy High Commissioner spoke about the ease of doing business, rank, how it has improved from 142 in 2014 progressively to 63. I mean, we as India as a country still feels 63 is not good enough, and every effort is being made to take it to next level of this thing. I do not have the data for manufacturing alone, but manufacturing and service sector put together, I believe that almost the estimates vary, but anywhere between and it's a big range, 5 to 6 lakh jobs. I mean, basically, we're talking about 0.5 million to 1 million jobs UK companies have created in India. So I think it's a huge number. We are talking about, and UKIBC, as a body which is committed to strengthening bilateral economic ties between UK and India, we are working very closely, not only on this. In UK, we also work as act as a secretariat on behalf of the UK Prime Minister for CEO Forum, which we are trying to re-initiate in our recent discussions with number 10. This came up very, very strongly. And so we are a lot into advocacy, and much of course, it's done in both countries. But there's more advocacy that we take up for British companies with the government of India and state governments. And there are a lot of success stories. Very often, if a neutral, independent body like UKIBC, when it takes up with a degree of seriousness some measures with various ministries, I have seen, very often we believe that things will not change. But once you take it up, dialogue it, reason it, create a business case, and try to convert that, if you have this policy initiative change, how will it impact, flow of FDI? How will it, impact GDP of the country? I think decisions do happen, and in this government, we have surely seen, if you develop a strong business case, these kind of changes happen. So we do a lot of advocacy, some advisory services. We were happy that the Deputy High Commissioner talked about the Access India program, largely for British SMEs, and the UKIBC is proud to be a partner of that. We also, a lot of British SMEs who want to be in India, and initially they want to test waters. We have a facility for them called Launchpad, and we take it. It was the defense and aerospace sector was being talked about. Yes, we are our defense budget is among the top 5 any country can boast of in the world. But I think more importantly, recently, I mean, just to give you in the Defense Expo, which was held just before COVID in February in Lucknow in India. UK had sent the largest ever delegation, and UKIBC has a dedicated group for aerospace and defense. And every now and then we take up. Now we are taking up with 2 defense corridors which have been identified in India, in Tamil Nadu and in Uttar Pradesh. We are taking up with the respective governments that how do we reduce the pain which an investor has to go through in the country. So I think it's a lot of this thing, and as it was rightly said by the earlier speakers, as the recent geopolitical developments in the world, and also the pandemic has shown that how many developed countries are very, very actively contemplating to relocate at least part of their supply chains at destinations other than China. And I mean, I don't have to wear an Indian hat or whatever, but very clearly the country which is in the front, which has emerged as a front runner to attract those investments is India, undoubtedly. Because of our size, because of our population, because of local entrepreneurship, because of skills, and so on and so forth. And even small measures, like from Government of India, like the production-linked incentives that they've announced, that incremental production that happens in some product categories, and some part of it is actually given back of the additional revenues that the companies generate is given back as a production-linked incentive, and that has already shown a lot of positive impact in product categories like mobile phones and things like that. So I think it's fundamentally, there is a will in both countries. Since I joined, we've had discussions with number 10, with the Prime Minister's office, with the Niti Ayog's Vice Chairman, with Invest India's CEO, and a variety, the principal economic advisor to Government of India, and a variety of people in both the countries. And I see a lot of keenness and eagerness to engage with each other. And as India has become the second largest investor in UK now, it was third largest this year, it has become the second largest investor. I think UK also has been one of the fastest growing investors in India. And as we improve our ease of doing business, as more and more incentives are laid down, as reforms keep happening. I mean, how not too many countries in the world have looked upon the pandemic as an opportunity to reform. I mean, look at the kind of reforms which have happened in the last few months in the MSME space for the SMEs, and especially in the credit availability and the credit guarantee space. I think the recent, the Deputy High Commissioner talked about the food processing sector, the agriculture and food processing sector, how there have been a lot of reforms in that sector as well in India. So I think I can go on, but I think I must end at this point of time. And I see a lot of capability, a lot of potential, because we already have a critical mass of British investments in India. And with the seriousness that I see, I think we'll be able to take it to the next level of maturity.
Thank you very much. And you covered the whole plethora of issues, and I'm sure Louise and Phil will take this forward, and then we have a discussion. Quickly, Louise, I think a lot of issues have already been raised, and I'm sure some of them you will agree, and some of them you will supplement. Over to you, Louise. You are yourself a UK company in India, so manufacturing is the key.
It absolutely is the key. So a pleasure to be here with very esteemed colleagues. So let's be clear, Rolls-Royce in India. I'm here representing our defense business. I'm not talking about cars. So a company with more than 100 years history, 80 years of that history is shared with India. So we are a really proud partner with India. We've been manufacturing in India since 1956. That was the Orpheus engine. And today we manufacture several marks of the Ador engine in India. So we're proud to power both the Indian Navy and the Indian Air Force with the Jaguar fleet and the Hawk fleet. These are fleets that have been in operation for quite some decades now, and we believe they'll be in operation for decades to come. So we manufacture the Ador engine for the Jaguar under license in India with our partners HAL. We also manufacture the Ador 871 engine for the Hawk, also with our partners HAL. So I would like to supplement something that has been said several times already. India is all about trust and partnership. And we've really been proud to be partners in India for more than 80 years. But what we've done to date is not the blueprint for what we'll do in the future. I know that here today, we're here to talk about manufacturing, and manufacturing is clearly key, and India is looking for growth in manufacturing. We believe India can create far more value than that. And actually what we'd like to do as Rolls-Royce, as we move forward into the coming decades, is move from make in India to create in India. So manufacturing is really a small percentage of the value add if you look at the full value chain. So what we're currently exploring, both as Rolls-Royce and as part of UK PLC, is how do we do more co-creation with India? Now, the UK is in a relatively unique position. There are other nations, of course, that can offer the same, but we are in a position to offer full transfer of technology to India. And certainly if you look forward into future combat, that is the intent of the UK, is to work hand in hand with India to co-develop new jet engine technology. You will have heard us say that at Def Expo, the last time we were all able in a large group to be together discussing such matters of importance. But certainly we have been making in India for more than 60 years. We wish to continue making in India because we see that is valuable, but I think it's time to evolve. And I think it's time to move away from thinking about hardware manufacture and manufacture under license from blueprint to actually how do you co-create new technology in partnership within the ecosystem to deliver value for both India, but also for the export and the global market. So I guess to coin the phrase from Def Expo, it's Make in India for the world, and Rolls-Royce in the defense sector is going to be a key part and is very proud to have the privilege of being able to work with India to actually further that journey. So I know there'll be lots of room for discussion. And there's lots more I'd like to say, but I'd like to leave time for questions and debate. But that's really our position in Rolls-Royce. How do we help create in India for the world?
Thank you, Liz. We heard a lot of phrases like innovate in UK and manufacture in India. Now you're saying from make in India to create in India. Then you're saying make in India for the world, as you are doing. And that's what JCB does. And High Commission of India every time says that JCB is making half of its global profits from India. And over to Philip. I mean, you have the last word on Make in India, and then we will have a panel discussion. And I have already some questions from the delegates. Philip, go ahead.
Thank you, Mohan, and thank you to all the other speakers. We've been rich with facts and figures, so what I'm going to do is avoid a few facts and figures now and just talk a little bit about how we feel about India and how we could feel about India in the future. We're mere beginners. We've only been there for 40 years. So, Louise, you guys have a lot more experience. I'd just like to say that everything you hear about doing business in India is absolutely true, but so is the exact opposite. So you have to really work it out for yourself. And I agree with Mr. Munjal. Having the right partner is absolutely essential. Maybe not forever, but certainly to give you the traction you need in the market. It's a complex market to understand. And you have to, first of all, love India, because India can be frustrating. We talk about ease of doing business, but it really isn't that easy. It's actually quite complicated. So let's not, let's tell the truth. Let's not pull any punches. It's a complex market. In the 40 years we've been in India, the first 20 years were pretty rough. We really did struggle quite a lot, struggle to understand. I'd like to say that we have a first-class Indian management team in India. We don't have any full-time expats in senior management positions. Our Indian business is really run by our Indian colleagues. We believe that India is an economic and manufacturing powerhouse. Currently it is, and for the future it most definitely is. Mr. Munjal mentioned cost, it was Mohan or Mr. Munjal mentioned cost competitiveness, and I'd like to add quality to that. Made in India is a good benchmark for a quality product. You don't go anywhere else in the world and see made in India and go, oh dear, it's made in India. People go, it's made in India. And we have to thank the Tata Group really for its investments in JLR. And we obviously thank Mr. Munjal for his investments and building that fantastic Hero motorcycle. And I look forward to the e-bikes. I just want to segment slightly away from that. I have a firm belief that working through the CV-19 crisis globally, it's hit us all. I think it is bouncing us into a green economy. It would have taken a generation to get us there, but I think CV-19 possibly has almost halved that, if not more. So, I think that's something for debate, and I'm delighted to see we have over nearly 60 attendees listening to this. And I don't know what everybody else thinks, but the agenda for racing towards green, hydrogen, electrics, cars, batteries, everything that's going on, including the awareness about using the Earth's resources, I think has come to the front. I think people are really thinking about it. Before, there was a certain amount of lip service and a certain amount of, oh, well, we'll do it, but I hope it doesn't cost us any money. But now I think that has changed. So that's sort of my statement for this one. I really do believe in that. The other thing is, business is between people. And you don't normally do business with people you don't like. It's really, because it actually comes down to two people, maybe surrounded by a few lawyers, but in a room making an agreement. That's where it finishes. And all I can say is, I've worked in India with JCB for 20 years. The 10 years before that, I worked with my own company, which was in renewables. And my main client was the ONGC. And I worked with John Brown and EIL in those days. This is back in the late 80s, early 90s. So and I've made tremendous business friends, colleagues, whatever in India. And I just think the links between the UK and India are so strong. We have a similar sense of humor. We like the same things. We have a shared history. We get on, and we have enjoyable times when we do business. So I think this is rare. I'm not going to say anything about other countries whether I've done business in and not had such an enjoyable time, but you can probably imagine which one it is, and it's slightly east of you guys. But I'm not going to answer your question, Mohan. We're not a public company. We don't have to talk about profits. All I will talk about, though, is constant reinvestment in India, because we believe in India. We have conquered India with a product, and that product is now being exported. 20% of finished product goes outside India and creates export income for India. And next year, we will complete a super factory in Gujarat, which is 100% export orientated. So we've done the Make in India bit. We're now making and exporting from India. And India is just a massive hub. And as I say again, an economic and manufacturing powerhouse. So I'm just going to leave it there and hand back to Mohan. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you for these remarks. And all of you have raised so many issues. And the last thing, I just want to repeat one thing what you said. You said everything is true for India, but opposite is also true for India. So I hope you reflected, Mr. Munjal, while I would like to ask you some. But other thing which is very good, one is that COVID has led countries to faster to green economy. And at least here, Mr. Munjal, you are talking of e-bikes and all that. It's very difficult now to drive, very expensive to drive within London. So we have to now get to alternate transport thing. Also, this whole idea of create in India and make in India cost and quality. Now, I have some questions here which I will raise, and then you may also, Ms. Munjal, you might mention, and then others will join in. One is a question from broadly, how much of manufacturing global supply chains have shifted to India following COVID, if there is? Second question is, I will make in India regulations in defense purposely seems to be changing. Is the focus to make locally and export to other countries? And I think not in defense, but Philip did mention, and I think Louise partly, was that yes, India was being used to supply for other countries too. Then I have a question from Joe Walton saying, does India have R&D innovation incentives, and in what area and focus? Mr. Munjal, if you could speak first, and then I will invite others to say.
So I'll not know a macro number of how much business has been migrated in the last few months to India from other countries. But all I can tell you is that I've not seen times like this in my life. The amount of goodwill made in India goods are having, the amount of, like even Mr. Philip mentioned in his speech, and Louis, about a trustable partner. You need to trust your spouse. You need to trust your team. The whole world is built on the principle of trust. So you need a trustable partner. It's too powerful. It's too big. It overrides short-term any other issue. So I've never seen time like this. It's, if you don't grow at 50% in time like this, there is something wrong you're doing with so much thing happening. So I would say a typical Indian company, a typical transnational company, I would, like to compliment and thanks both you great iconic customers, iconic brands that you're sitting here for 40 years and 60 years you're in India. India is very proud to have you. And Louis also mentioned about a trustable partner. So this is what we've done with BMW. They've held us for 20 years. So many ups and downs you see in time. But if people are moving like this, it's on. Trust is a founding principle. But other than that, you need to be competitive. You need to change. You need to deliver the promises that you make. I mean, that part of it is it. So the defense system, the second question, I'll leave it to the right people. They could do their answering. But it's a great, great time to people to look at India, and the time is now.
Great time to be in India and to manufacture.
Couldn't be better.
Well, that's thank you. Louise, you want to take on this defense thing and the other points that we were talking about?
Yeah, so with regards to defense, I think I will repeat a comment made earlier. Out of chaos comes opportunity. So India has always had a dream to achieve self-reliance in defense. What we're now seeing is acceleration towards making that dream a reality. So of course, the current government, the Modi government, has made some significant policy changes which have transformed the ease of doing business. I take Philip's comment. Let's be truthful, it is not easy, but it is easier than it used to be. And so if you look at defense, you could look at some of the headlines and look at the defense budget cuts that have happened in the wake of COVID, because clearly we need to focus spending in other sectors. But actually that presents opportunity, because with defense spending cuts in India, actually you need to keep operating the current platforms longer. Actually, you need to ramp up your game in terms of getting the capability to produce indigenous engines. We talked before about nationalistic tendencies. I actually think there's a positive, because it's not nationalistic. It's about actually creating self-reliance, creating and building upon the great capability and talent in India. So if you look at defense right now, the dream that India has always had is fast on its way to becoming some sort of reality. And actually, to build on Philip's point, the bounce to a green economy, I think India will look back on COVID-19 and also see it as a bounce towards true self-reliance in defense. There have been decisions and policy changes that have really happened in the last handful of months that mean we can truly start to partner to build that self-reliance. And like I say, from the UK's perspective, we will create new jet engine technology in partnership with India. That is something that will happen. And it is something that will happen more quickly, I would argue, with COVID-19 as a catalyst towards that self-reliance. So this government has to be proud, the Indian government has to be very proud of some of the policy changes that in time, I think we will reflect on 2020 as a key turning point towards that self-reliance in defense.
Thank you. Jayant, do you want to add anything here? What Louise said. You are on.
Sorry. So defense, I think the increase in the FDI cap to 74%, that by itself is a very, very welcome move. Industry feels the recent list of negatives which can't be imported to India. That's a bit of a dampener. Kind of a thing, under the Atmanirbhar Bharat. But I think gradually the idea is to manufacture many of these items in India. At least do some imports and some value add in India, and then use it for domestic consumption. I'm sure, being such a large defense spender, there'll be lots of opportunities. And there are companies, because UKIBC runs a very specialized defense and aero group, of which Rolls Royce is a member, and there are a lot of other companies which are members. And I see a lot of excitement and a renewed activity there. And I'm sure, the actual outcomes on the ground are not far behind.
Thank you. Philip, some of the questions you raised and some where comments have been made, but you may like to add some others and also answer some of the questions others have raised, the panel. Thank you.
I think I've done enough of the comments. Let's have some questions.
Yeah?
Do you have any questions?
The questions was, well, I think the defense, I will leave it to, that has been done. But 1 second, I'll get the question now. The question is, how much of manufacturing global supply chains have shifted to India following COVID?
It's a very good question. Let me tell you our own experience. The overall answer is, I think people will be considering India a lot more seriously now. And as I think people recalibrate their supply chains as they dust themselves off from the shock of COVID, they will be looking towards India perhaps more than they would. JCB as a company always believed in developing a local ecosystem. It was immensely useful in helping us manage any disruptions, always was, because there is a tremendous work ethic within the supply chain. And I'd like to say that we do export to 50 countries from India, and the backhoe loader, which we are the global leader on, we have over 50% global market share. That product is now 96% indigenous in India. It's taken us about 20 years to get there, but we've brought our friends with us. We've invested with our friends. That's axles, gearboxes, engines, the whole lot. This is glass, everything. We import very, very little. So our experience has been one where we would continue to invest in India. I think even today, and Mr. Munjal will understand that, some of the finest supply chain in wiring loom particularly is in India. They're innovative, they're fast, they're good, they're excellent quality, and we certainly import a huge amount. So I would say to most people, you can't always put your eggs in one basket. If you're a global manufacturer, you need to have maybe 2, possibly 3 baskets, because one basket can always have a problem, and then at least you're left with 2. So we'd always looked at multi-sourcing for our global supply. From India, we were indigenous looking out, but if you look at the other JCB factories around the world, within that supply chain, we did import from and do import from China, from India, from Vietnam, from Brazil, from the United States, from parts of Europe, and we'll continue to do so. And sometimes there will be parallel, if not multi-level sort of products coming through. So you've always got to plan. And I would say for any company that's listening, you should listen to what Mr. Munjal said and to Jayant and say, India, it's a quality game, and you can find the right people to get partnerships with, and you can actually help each other and profit from each other as you go more globally together. But I think India is a jumping off point. And I'd just like to say one other thing, R&D incentives. I don't know, actually. I don't know the answer, but all I will say is the Pune is like being in a sweet shop of engineering. The quality in Pune and the quantity of people and the quantity of engineers and the intelligence of these engineers, both, and I'm delighted to say, both male and female, coming out of those establishments puts every other country to shame. I'd also like to just say one other thing about diversity. Over 30% of our business in Jaipur, which is our latest venture, is female. And we intend to keep it that way. And we'd love it to be 50-50. Maybe it will in time. But we've brought young girls with engineering diplomas from all over India, working from the shop floor upwards and learning and improving their qualifications. I mean, these are young girls that have come from as far away as Eastern Madhya Pradesh and are happy to come and work in Jaipur.
Well done.
This is not just some local girls from some villages coming and wanting to be engineers. We are attracting them. So we're immensely proud of that, and long may it continue.
Yeah, we're seeing India is really.
Mr. Kaul, I've got a question for the panelists. May I?
You have? Yes, I have a question for you too.
Whenever is the right time, you let me know.
Okay.
I've got them. Let me make a request to them after this.
Okay. So let me give you the question, and you can probably answer that as well as raise the question to the panelists. The question is for you, from Roddy Martin here. He says, affordability is a key issue for electrification of the automobile industry, particularly cars in India. In this context, aren't the new high customs tariffs on imported vehicles, including SKD and CKD units, unhelpful in lowering domestic price? You refer to this along with
it's not a straight answer for that. I mean, the Indian government is clearly nurturing Indian industry, employment. Like Philip also made a remark on the beautiful factory. I've read about the factory. I've not seen it, but the CEO is a classmate. Vipin Sondhi is a classmate of mine. He did a great job. So we have to nurture it. When you have to nurture it, in the beginning, it needs support. One is stand alone on its own feet, then one can compete. So I would not agree that SKDs are at a higher level. So the higher 2000 cc and the higher cars are the ones having custom duties. And Suzuki, Toyota, Hyundai, I mean, all of them need to get return on the invested capital. So it lowers the structure. It's a balance of many other ecosystem for the whole thing. Miss Louis, to Philip, the world's second car is called the e-bike.
Yeah.
Any distance traveled less than 6 kilometers. In India, 30 million motorcycles are sold every year, 30. 50 to 60% travel less than 6 kilometers from home to work, home to school, to simply commute, is so much. Wouldn't we like to see a Rolls Royce or a JCB enter and diversify into something new? There's a shortage of engines. 5 million is the manufacturing level today. It's growing at 20% compounding. It's going to be 10 million in another 3 years. So would you like to see Rolls Royce and JCB technology-driven urban commute solution? So Hero needs 500,000 of them. If you have, Mr. Kaul's got my number, we can exchange emails and we can get some thinking tank. But there's a vacuum, there's a big need, and it's a great sector socially. You know, if it's a social need you fulfill, you can't go wrong.
Well, it would be great that this webinar would get a partnership going between Hero, JCB, and Rolls Royce. So who wants to go first, Louise or Philip?
Louise, ladies first.
Thank you, Philip. Absolutely, electric technology is part of Rolls-Royce's current and future journey. You must know, and we debuted some of the concepts at Farnborough a number of years ago in terms of e-taxis. Now I'm talking airborne rather than powering bikes, but actually there's a lot of parallels in the technology that we are developing that could be worthy of exploration, because you make a good point. It's of a societal benefit. We all live within our societies and we all want to create sustainable futures for our societies, for our families, our friends. So actually, if you look at where we're developing and you look at the development of the world's fastest electric aircraft called Axel, and there's been some media reports about that recently, you can see a lot of synergies potentially there. So whilst, you know, we cannot make commitments, I think it's certainly something that is interesting to explore and aligned with our technological developments. So yeah, of interest to discuss further.
Great.
Philip, if you want to buy a small electric excavator, just send me an order. They're in stock. We make them. We make electric excavators up to the 2-ton range. We're going to go a little bit higher than that. We make small dumping devices in electric, and we make telescopic handlers, small size in electric. There comes a crossover point where electric cannot actually work, where you've got a large tonnage involved. But I would like to say that we did have a proof of concept hydrogen run excavator at 20 tons running, and we are still proving that concept. So, you know, when you talk about heavy equipment, which is a lot heavier than Mr. Munjal's equipment, you have to have a 20, 30 ton machine to actually do what you do. So you need a 40-foot container of batteries if you're going that route behind it. So that's not going to happen. So there are other technologies that we are looking. We have a whole department dedicated to what is the future of diesel combustion. I know that Rolls-Royce, we're neighbours down the road in the same corridor in the centre of England. And we're working with our government. Our manufacturing design engineers are working continuously to actually answer that question. It's the same question we have in our business. How can an ant pick up 20 times its weight? Yeah, there's always a conundrum somewhere. And the conundrum is, how are we going to totally decarbonize globally by 2050, and possibly in the UK by as early as 2030 or 2035? We do everything we can in manufacturing, but it's development. So it's a question of watch this space. You can buy electric from us, and we've gone public with development of hydrogen at 20 tons. Proof of concept, I say. They're not on the market yet and won't be for some years, but it's there.
Well, I mean, Pankaj, I think that was a good question, and there is positive responses, and I think we can follow that up.
Okay.
Now over to our Deputy High Commissioner, Charanjeet Singh. Your comments, please. I hope you're there. Unmute yourself, please.
I am here, Kaul Sahab. I had just turned off my video because the voice was not clear, so that I could follow the discussions. So I was really very happy to see that you have gathered people from different sectors who are very important from India's manufacturing point of view, and the discussions were very, very informative and interesting. So I think now I would like to give you some work after this event, that you have been summing up every intervention with great care and in a very very pithy manner. So I would request you to kindly sum up this event and send it across to our economic wing, so that if there is something which has to be pushed from our side, or some advice emerges from this discussion which we can pass on to our government, so that will be great. So I would like to thank all of you for being with us, and thank you to Kaul Sahab for organizing this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We will we'll certainly prepare some write-up and send it to you and to others. Also, this event is recorded and will be broadcast, and we'll send you a copy. And we thank you. I join the High Commissioners, say thank you very much, all of you, Pankaj, Louise, Philip, and Charanjeet, and all the delegates who have been there across India, UK, and other countries. Thank you for joining, and we look forward to seeing you soon on another occasion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.